Welcome back to Men and the City, and I hope you're doing well wherever you may be. Coming at you today from Washington, D.C. So I thought we could do a little bit of a walk and talk as I want to do on this channel. And today's subject is about men's suffering and resurrection. Over the last couple years, maybe 5 years, and especially over the last 6 months, I have seen a lot of very visceral videos. Some of them are posted on YouTube, some are on TikTok and other platforms. But the subject is almost always the same, and that is a young man, usually 20 to 25, sometimes a little bit older, but in each case, they're expressing tremendous despair, depression. And some of these videos are quite harrowing because they emotionally lay out a very compelling case for why their lives aren't going the direction they should, why society hates them, or why they're alone, dysfunctional families. You know, the problems run the gamut, unfortunately. But the proliferation of this sentiment appears to be hitting a critical mass. And I wanted to talk specifically about the extent to which there's so much missing on this topic. And I watched a reaction video to one of these, and I'll link to some of these videos below because you really should watch them. And some of them have generated hundreds of thousands of views, understandably, because so many men feel the same way. And I suspect that there are parents that are watching some of these videos too because they're concerned about their sons. Well, one of the reactions to one of these videos was it was very sincere. It comes from a YouTuber that I followed for a number of years, and he's a good guy. I think he's about 10 years older than I am, and he, as far as I can tell, genuinely cares about men. And I think he made this video in an expression of solidarity on that topic. And I think he genuinely cares for the man that he's addressing. But his response was lackluster. He acknowledged many of the sentiments that this young man felt: loneliness, rejection, despair, the sense that he doesn't belong, that nothing in life is going his way and it's not going to improve. And his response was, well, you know, I felt that way once when I was younger too, and oh, my brother, he feels these things, and you just have to push through it. And while I can appreciate the power of positive thinking, as Norman Vincent Peale once put it, that doesn't really do justice to what's happening right now. And it illustrates, again, from a man who is, you know, he's certainly not woke. He's not part of the cognitive elite, if you will. The well-to-do, the globalists, you know, whatever you want to call them. He's not a part of that crowd. But he doesn't get it. He thinks that what this young man is experiencing, or other young men like him, he's aware that it's more than just an anomalous video. He thinks that, well, there's corrective action that can be taken, and you know, if you press ahead with a good attitude, then your destiny is in your control. And while to some degree that's true for all of us, what this young man is conveying, and what most of you watching know explicitly now, if not emotionally, viscerally, because of your own experience, is that this crisis of masculinity is beginning to wobble. It's beginning to slide into disarray. A lot of men are figuring it out. They're concluding that society is wrecked, because it is. It's a mess. You feel it when you go to your local city center and you see bizarre groups coalescing here or there, I'm not going to go into who they are. You know who they are. Strange political causes, an abundance of nonprofits and government initiatives and newspeak, all pushing this destructive narrative that targets men in particular and masculinity in general. And of course, we feel this as men more than anything else because of our relationship, our very toxic relationship, or increasingly toxic relationship with the opposite sex. And it is important to remember in this regard that women echo power, whereas men echo the struggle for power or the hierarchy of power. And so the attitudes towards young men expressed by women, much of which are incredibly caustic, hostile, averse, dismissive, disparaging, especially to average, normal men, men that are heterosexual, may have an orientation in a traditional value set. Maybe they're Christian, maybe they adhere to some other religion, but it's more of a traditional way of looking at the world. They're treated with absolute contempt. And that contempt, that toxic, that biting, that corrosive experience that men are the recipient of mirrors the way the people running our society feel about men today, and by extension feel about the constituent parts, the component parts that really make up our societies, especially in the Western world. It's not unique to the West per se, but it is certainly the most inflamed, the most exaggerated form of it is nestled in Western institutions. Okay, so what's the point of all of this? This kind of suffering that a lot of these men are experiencing, which again, this YouTuber basically said, well, it's hard to go through these things, but you have to maintain a positive attitude and so forth. This suffering is necessary. It's a very strange thing to say, but just go with me on this. The suffering that a lot of us collectively, and I've been there too, as some of you know based on videos I put out on my channel, it is actually accomplishing a few things. The first is that when you go through a harrowing experience of rejection, which most young men do, that's when your fortitude, your forbearance, your masculine core solidifies. And one of the sentiments this young man expressed, and all these young men are expressing, is that they wish they had normal lives. They wish that they had a girlfriend, they wish that they were married, maybe have children, that they were accepted by mainstream society. And we can all understand that. We all want acceptance to some degree or another. But in the process of going through this darkness and being pulled down into this abyss where it's really just yourself, because there's no community right now in the West, no meaningful community beyond what we have together on channels like this and on other corners of the internet. And mind you, I think that that's going to change. I think that you're going to see the emergence of organic community of men, especially in the West. It's coming, but it's not there yet. And so for the moment, we are all staring into the abyss. And we're doing so by ourselves. Nobody's coming to help us. But in so doing, it's clarifying what's actually happening in the world today. It is liberating us, you might say, from a self-destructive order. And a lot of the men that are at the top of this poisonous social hierarchy, many of whom are clueless about many of the things we talk about on a routine basis, the extent to which our society is crumbling, our institutions are bankrupt, our economic structure is withering, and the divisiveness, the emotional distemperament and storm that's coming, that all of us sense, they're completely clueless. And as such, they haven't done the work. They haven't liberated themselves, you might say, from this broader mainstream matrix. And as such, they're just not as strong. However, all that being said, the suffering, the despair, the depression, staring into this abyss we've talked about, is precarious, as is masculinity in general. The process of becoming a man is a precarious crucible. What I mean by that is it can lead to self-destruction. So we have to stare into the abyss. We have to face the suffering and the depression and the isolation and the ostracism from society alone. But if you can push through that, if you can feel the feelings that we all feel right now, what happened to me, at least, when I went through that period, was eventually those feelings of rage faded. They subsided a bit. And then something happened. I could convert that negative energy into something positive on my terms. I could transform it into whatever I was passionate about. And because I was not stuck in some corporate hub, hustling 60, 80 hours a week, desperate to pay my mortgage or my rent, because at this time I was living at home. I was broke, didn't have any real friends. I was alone, like this young man was, and I felt terrible about it. But eventually those feelings began to subside and convert or transform into something that was more productive and rooted in what I really cared about. In other words, I became, underneath all that despair, I eventually became who I am. And that's what you've got to do. One final point on this. When I was in France earlier this year during the summer, one of the people I met with, he's a fairly prominent nationalist leader in France, and he said to me that France at present is a volcano. Now, I didn't ask any follow-ups because I didn't need to, but the world right now is very unstable. It's very fragile. And in part it's fragile because there are unseen forces, unconscious forces that are operating beneath the surface. And that's what's beginning to manifest on YouTube and some of these videos, men hitting the breaking point in the West, because the West is getting closer to that breaking point. And so the question is, on this precarious continuum, this traumatic red pilling, this heightened awareness and anger on that basis, can we, as a group, as a neo-masculine movement, can we transform that negative energy, which is quite necessary, as I said, can we transform that into a reformation? That is going to be the question going forward, because the volcanic eruption has begun. And that means that real masculinity, real strength of character, real trials and tribulations are coming for society as a whole. And my guess is that those of us that have had a very difficult time over the last 2 decades or more, we're ready for it. And if nothing else, we're ready for it so that we can survive and others may not. Stay tuned for more, and we'll talk soon.